Which is the restaurant capital of the world?
I think New York, London, Paris.
And in India?
Bombay is where there's more serious food.
I think you get more in Delhi, no?
No, we get Punjabi versions of everything in Delhi. And you get Punjabi South Indian, Punjabi Chinese,
That's
Punjabi
cute.
Italian, Punjabi Vietnamese. But I knew I loved a man, and I knew society didn't approve of it. And I knew I had to deal with it, and I thought I would be beaten to death.
How do you explain this thing about vegetarian food doesn't have enough protein, so it's not really balanced diet?
We have taken jargon from the West and changed how we think. Our ghar ka khana, sabzis, are the most balanced way of getting protein in your body. A Pakistani driver said to me in New York, he said, "Bade bhai, hum log gore ki laal gaal dekh ke apni thappad maar maar ke laal kar denge." We are enslaved to the Westerners. Parapucharu.
The Andhra.
Andhra. It's amazing. That dal has texture, color, taste, oomph. We'll serve that. Rather than dal makhani. That will give you a Michelin star.
MasterChef ka batana.
MasterChef was masterfully fun. The contestants are very brave. I could see the wealth of India. But behind all of this is a team of professionals. Reality TV is very unreal. I asked my mother recently in the last 5-6 years when I came home to die in India, and I said we were connecting. I couldn't see much. I couldn't speak much. I said to her, "When did you know I was gay?" She said, "From a long time." She said, "Forever."
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to another edition of the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. My guest today is Michelin star chef Suveer Saran. The conversation today isn't just about his culinary journey. Suveer is a columnist and artist. He talks to me about his life, coming out in the 80s as a homosexual, a traditional family accepting and embracing his otherness, coping with the loss of a parent. His brother Sameer Saran has appeared in the podcast in episode number 73 and 138. Of course, Suveer and I also chatted about Indian cuisine and Indian restaurants. Suveer, thank you so much for being part of the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Smita.
I have so much to ask you, but I want my viewers to know about your journey of life. But before that, just tell me a little bit about how this khana banana started. How did you become a chef? What told you?
No, nothing told me to be a chef. In fact, it even now tells me to do other things. From the earliest stage, I wanted to be either a doctor, a Hindustani classical vocalist, or a professor at a college. And I'm doing none of the above. I'm cooking. But I also was cooking from the earliest days. So the earliest memories, chachis, mamis, buas, nanis, dadis, dadia mosi, all the relatives and neighborhood aunties have of me, is me learning how to cook, teaching them how to cook, or asking them questions about why they do something in the kitchen. So all the Maharajas, neighborhood cooks, they all were my friends. And why? Because I think from the age of 3, I thought I was a different human being than others.
Oh.
I had an inkling that I was gay, and I didn't have a word for it. I just knew I was different. And I hated myself from age 3.
You
I
wrote
had
about
nightmares.
that at Nagpur.
Yeah, in Nagpur I had sleepless nights because I used to see a Shamshan Bhumi where they would take people, dead bodies on their shoulders, and I thought that's my fate. I'll be beaten to death when people know I'm different. But I knew I loved a man, and I knew society didn't approve of it, and I knew I had to deal with it, and I thought I would be beaten to death. So from age 3 till around 7, these were my nightmares.
And the cobras in the bathroom. I was like, ये क्यों ऐसे सपने आ रहे थे सुवीर को?
So this is what got me into the kitchen.
Were they really cobras or did you?
Yeah, we had cobras in Nagpur. My mother was unafraid. And we kids were like, oh my God, oh my God. And that was the best part of Nagpur when my nightmares were subsiding. But the kitchen was a safe haven. And Indian kitchens with our amazing women, men who cook, there was never any fear. It was a very inclusive place. Our Panditji, who was a Brahmin priest, that cleansed the kitchen. ये पेटी मत पे बेल्ट को पेटी कहते थे. बेल्ट मत पहन के आइए, चप्पल नहीं पहन के आना. For me, all rules were broken. I could come and he would just start cooking with me, teaching me, talking to me, and hold me under his armpit and just be there. So that's how food began in my life.
And it was encouraged by the neighborhood aunties and the moms and mom and masis and everybody?
I was a kid who went cooking with them. I had embroidered, crocheted, knitted, macrameed, needle pointed, needle worked, did everything a woman did. And they never cared. For them, they were in shock and awe that a young kid could stitch, crochet, embroider, do shadow work, do applique work, cut patterns. I was doing it from age 5, 6, 7. And these aunties didn't judge. They didn't find it wrong. They didn't find it odd. They encouraged me to be me.
So that's an experience which is unique because I would think that, some of our, we have common friends who are gay, especially kids around you, preteens, they can be nasty because anybody who's not like them, not like everybody else.
Kids are nasty. It doesn't matter. Even to heterosexual
Correct.
peer. We are unkind. We are taught by our parents to be unkind, by our elders.
Yeah.
That wo adusra hai.
Yeah.
So of course I had that. But I think like food became the kitchen was the haven where I found security most of the time. At school, I was at the teacher's staff room, writing poetry, reading it to them. I was, the teachers would call me to their staff room to sing. I would sing the ragas I'd learned. I would sing the bhajans I'd learned. I would show them the stitching, embroidery I was doing, the poetry I was writing, the epitaph I was writing. If I died at the age of 10, I was writing an epitaph. So, these teachers were as boggled by this creature sitting in front of them as the classmates were into bullying me for being different.
Yeah.
But the teachers then gave me a haven in school, the staff
where was
room.
this? Which school was
Modern school was Sant Vihar. The teachers who were young, who were learning how to teach, we were a new institution of very avant-garde learning. So I was the first kid in UP, in ICSC, CBSE, to take eight subjects in 11th and 12th. I took physics, chemistry, math, biology, English, the sciences. In addition, I took Hindi, music, and graphic design and art history. So I had 8 subjects.
Out of choice, you took
Out
the
of
other.
choice. No Indian student had done that before. The principal checked what could be done, and he said, of course, he's allowed to. So the school allowed me to bunk certain subjects every day to take other subjects. And I got 100 in art. I got 97 in music. The Hindi exam I couldn't give. It was conflicting with my physics. And then I did it.
And you took pure sciences. Why? Because of pressure,
I wanted
peer
to
pressure?
be a doctor.
You wanted to be a doctor?
I wanted to be a doctor or a veterinarian or an artist. So my father in the end said, he could have sent me to Manipal. My brother went there. But he said, chalo, pursue art. Then we don't have an artist in the family. We have doctors, lawyers, babus. We have all of them. Artists nahi hai. Karo, art pursue.
But how did your siblings... when did your siblings know that you're gay? And how did your cousins take? Your cousins can be...
Gossipy and...
Yeah.
So I had 2 incredible siblings. My sister, Seema, the limit, was pushing
The
limits.
limit.
That's the meaning of Seema, na? Limit.
Yes.
So Seema is into pushing limits.
limit.
The limit. So my mom says she's the limit and pushing limits. So she pushed all the limits for my parents. Samir, the brave warrior, was the big brother who protected me. So Samir, through all the bluster of being that big macho boy, he was the sports captain, he was the school stud boy. But because of that, nobody could bully me or touch me beyond a certain limit.
Okay.
I was protected. So between Seema, Samir, and then coming to me, the youngest, Suvir, the brave one. My mom says Seema is the limit, Samir is the softy, gentle breeze, is what Samir means.
But you are the gentle breeze, no?
नहीं, I give that aura. मेरे को पत्थर फेंकोगे मैं हिलूंगा नहीं. So जब bully हुआ, ये हुआ, वो हुआ, it didn't bother me. एक कान से सुना. I was reading the Gita from age 5, from 6, learning it from my dadi. Adveshta sarvabhutana maitraha karuna evacha niramamo nirahankara samadukha sukhakshami. That in good and bad times you forgive life and you live to be a greater human being. So this verse of the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna asked Lord Krishna, what kind of a bhakt is your favorite bhakt? He said, Adveshta, without duality, who doesn't look at anything as being the other. Adveshta, Sarva Bhutanam, in the entire planet. Sarva Bhutanam, Maitraha Karuna, with Maitra, motherly compassion, Karuna Evacha, Niramamo Nirahankara.
Vatsalya would be motherly, Maitri is bandhu.
Friendship. Maitra, Karuna is compassionate.
Compassion.
Niramamo, without more, Nirahankara, without Ahankara. Samadukha Sukhakshami. So then you have to accept good and bad times equally, with equipoise, with grace, with the same welcome. So my dadi had taught me कि जब बुरा time आ रहा है, तुम क्यों रोते हो क्योंकि अच्छे टाइम पे तो good times are coming. With that same bluster, you have to accept the bad ones. So when I was bullied, when I was troubled, when the cousins were gossiping, I had Seema and Sameer, my protectors. I had my parents who didn't care that they were being gossiped about because of their son. They pretended they hadn't heard anything. So when a brother and a sister are there to protect you, your parents are like the Gita, not phased by
Was it because you had like kind of a quasi-joint family where you learned to accept quirks of different people, or that quirks is the wrong word, that differences
Quirks
are
is okay.
accepted?
Quirks is what it is.
Uh-huh.
I think you didn't use the wrong word. And I think, yes, we, at the drop of a hat, 100 people could show up for a family lunch or dinner.
I know your family,
And
so that's why I'm saying that.
large family of babus whose brain and education were valued more than money.
Yes.
And we did gossip about each other, laugh at one another, and also empathize with each other. So behind all the gossip and the churiya jo kehte hain,
Yeah.
there was also love and empathy and care that ek kutumb hai.
And joint families take a lot out of you.
But also give a
they
lot.
Give a lot. And you understand the benefits of it later in life. I mean, we didn't need friends. We had, those of us who grew up with a whole bunch of cousins, it's only when we reached college level that we made friends. We didn't have that neighborhood friends. We didn't need it. And even now, I feel that those of us who grew up with cousins in summer vacations and dada, dadi and everybody, or nana, nani, whatever, you can pick up threads with cousins 20 years later.
Yeah.
And you still
And you
connect.
have tears and you have joy.
Yeah.
Because those connect you. Holidays together.
Holidays.
Nainital पहुंच जाओ, मसूरी पहुंच जाओ. पैसे नहीं है, but a connection है.
Yes.
That, we could do nothing.
Yeah.
We got a government accommodation. We all got there together. And we were happy doing nothing there. एक माँ पराठे बना रही, दूसरी उनको सर्व कर रही है. The simple things gave great joy.
Were you subjected to any kind of physical violence because you were different from the others?
Luckily not.
If you want to speak on it, if you don't.
No, I'm very candid about my life's journey. Nothing at school. My classmates were perturbed by me. They were often disturbed by me. They were often shocked by me. They were often cold towards me. Because I was either too cool or I was too aloof. In 11th and 12th, I didn't exist. My 8 subjects consumed me. My art class and my music, that were my new haven of safety and my expression, totally had me. I would be in school 16 hours, 17 hours in a day. I was making prints. I got 100 on 100 first student to do that in CBSE for art.
Yes.
My mother thought it was a joke. How can art
paint so beautifully?
So my mother was shocked. How can an artist get 100? Because it's so subjective. She wrote about it in the paper. So that 18-hour days, and nobody questioned. My parents didn't question. The art teacher didn't question. Because I was doing printmaking, where if you go too long without finishing a print, there can be movement in the print. So I would stay 18 hours at school doing 11 colors in one print. And they would be like, oh my God, but this crazy kid created his own life, his own story. My parents had learned from Seema and Sameer, जो होता है क्या घबराना. So when I was there 18, they knew he wasn't doing drugs. He was a babla. They allowed me to be who I was.
Or is it because you're the youngest?
And I was the youngest. They've learned.
कि छोड़ो यार.
They've learned.
इसको जो करना है करने दो.
That's what I meant. They've learned. They grew up. Nobody ever questioned me.
So before I get to when you told your siblings and when you told your parents.
No. So Seema, you asked me when did my parents know? That was a fun story. Seema dressed me up like a girl every day till I was 12-year-old. I would come back from school, वो house क्या करती थी मेरी बहन की friends, I don't know. But I was a doll of their house. So I was a pretty boy, so I was dressed up every day. Then one day they saw इसके बाल आ रहे हैं. उसके बाद I was like, oof.
And the voice cracking.
And the voice cracking.
Oh,
so I think one day, that was the only moment I think I felt very left out. Because one day they stopped decorating me, putting makeup on me. अब भालू लग रहा था. Sameer, I think, knew all along. So he protected me from my earliest years. I think we never verbalized to each other. He knew. My sister, I came out to at the age of 20. My grandmother outed me. My nani was living in San Francisco, my nana nani. They'd retired, moved to San Francisco to be with my uncle. And my nani called my brother-in-law Ajit and said, "Is Suvir ka roommate nahi hai? Ye to it's his lover." He said, "Nani." I think he's gay. And Ajit said, she hasn't told us, Nani. Well, we need to have him come out. He said, Nani. So Ajit called me, are you gay? I said, yes. She said, have you told your sister? I said, no. He said, you better tell them because Nani wants to know from you. I said, what does Nani care? She said, roommate, shoemate, nahi hai, lovers hai. So I came out to my sister. Nani gave me a ticket.
On the phone?
On the phone.
Huh.
My grandmother flew me to San Francisco from New York. With my lover, Chuck.
Huh.
And we arrived and Nani said...
He's a Gora.
Gora.
Huh.
And she said, Nani ko pata hai, roommate nahi hai, tumhara lover hai. And it's okay. I said, Nani, thank you. She said, now come out to your parents. I said, what is the rush? She said, I don't want you to be taken away by drugs or alcohol or be self-abusive and get depressed.
Because parents don't know.
Because you're hiding from everybody.
Oh.
When you're hiding from your parents, you're hiding from yourself. She said, just open up. And then life happens. And that's what happened. At 20, I was confronted by it, by a grandmother who was smart. And it was out. I had nothing to hide, nothing to be ashamed of. And I think that is what I was lucky about.
And your mother must have known but was waiting for you to tell.
So very interesting thing. I asked my mother recently in the last 5-6 years when I came home to die in India, and I said we were connecting. I couldn't see much. I couldn't speak much. And she was my bedmate, caring for me. She was a nurse. I chose that I would be in her bed, taken care of by her, rather than the swing of nurses that would be in morning shift, afternoon shift, evening shift. I said, Mom, she gave me the choice. Kya chahiye? I said, you. By body language. So as I spoke, I said to her, when did you know I was gay? She said, from a long time. She said, forever. I said, why did you never tell me? And why were you shocked when I came out? She said, no mother wants her child to be different. We want our child to be accepted. We don't want them to be bullied. We don't want them to be hurt, to have obstacles, to have to jump. She said, I wanted you to fit in. I didn't want to accept my feelings because I wanted better for you. I wanted the world to be easier for you. I didn't want you to face challenges in life. So I somehow hoped and wished what I was seeing was not the reality for you. And she said, because I didn't want to change you. So I had a lisp. My mother was told we can fix it. She said, no, it's him. So that woman also knew I was different. And she said, I couldn't verbalize it because if I was wrong, why would I challenge you? So she said, I'd hoped against hopes that you would fit in, you would have an easier life because a mother wants that for a child.
And did you not tell your parents because you felt that society would say stuff to them?
I didn't have the guts. India was a very young nation when I was coming of age. And there were no role models for me. There was Gudda, Rohit Bal. I came out to myself at 14 because there was India Today with Raymond or one of these ads where Rohit Bal had done the design. And his face was the size of a stamp. And I looked at that man's face and I said, ye mera judwa hai. He didn't look like me, but I knew he was gay. So I called the telephone book, 9th Bal into the telephone book in those days. A woman picked up, hello. And I said, may I speak with Rohit Bal? Come in the evening after 8:30. That was his mother, Mrs. Bal. And auntie spoke like this. And Gudda laughed because I copy her perfectly. Hello. She smoked. So she had this incredibly gorgeous, raspy, Eartha Kitt voice. Hello. So of course I called after 9:30 and Gudda picked up.
Okay.
And I said, I want to meet you. He said, why would you want to meet me? I said, I just have to talk to you. I want to talk to you about my life, my work. And he said, how old are you? I said, 19. I was 14, but I had hairy chest, balu. So he said, but you could be a Jeffrey Dahmer. And he was shocked that I knew who Jeffrey Dahmer was when I was 19. Because my grandparents lived there. He was murdering gay men. So Gudda, as a 28-year-old, had heard of him, that gay men were being butchered by this serial killer. And I knew it because my grandparents lived there and I had visited San Francisco. So that gave him comfort that I said, I'm no Jeffrey Dahmer. And he said, what's my name? I said, you have a lot of it on your hair, long tresses, baal. To hasne laga. At 2 a.m, after he had eaten, drunk a little, he drove his car to Southex, told me to meet him on the terrace, that he would honk. I should turn the light on so he can see I'm a normal human being. And if he's comfortable, he would get off his car and meet me.
Why? Was he that kind of a loner?
Not about loner. This was a time when gays were being beaten in India. Jeffrey Dahmer was butchering gays in San Francisco. 1980. We were hated. Nobody knew anybody gay. And it was AIDS epidemic was at its highest.
Correct.
People were calling us deviants and we deserved death. So Gudda didn't know who's calling. A cold call on the phone, kaun hai ye aadmi? And Gudda was hiding. He was bisexual at the best of times. So I'm calling him out of the blue. So at 2 in the morning, he jumped off the gate that my dadi would lock. Chota sa gate, but dadi ke head with lock karna hai. Because our doors didn't have locks. Only the gate had a lock at night. So he jumped. My parents were in Muzaffarnagar. Papa was commissioner, income tax, was chief commissioner, whatever for UP. We were alone at night with Dadi watching the key. The bachas were having fun. The Gudda came. We had a fashion show with my mom's saris and shawls and jewelry. Seema, Gudda, and Rohit Bal, Seema and Suvir put on a fashion show till 6 in the morning. And we had fun. That was my coming out to myself, meeting a gay icon of the... He was not an icon then, but a gay human being other than me. And that night, Gudda took me on. And from that day on, every artist of India who was hiding their queerness, every straight person who was an ally of gay people, took on this bacha and made sure at 14, I didn't have to hide from myself. I had words to express myself. I had confidence in being who I was, and that the world in Delhi would be fair to me. All the dreams they couldn't live, they made happen for me. I was given the best clothes. I was given access to the best people of Delhi and parties at 14. And one day, Gudda realized I'd lied. I wasn't 19. And he said, Baba, if I'd done anything to you, you were underage. I said, you didn't, and I didn't let you, and we were fine. Because they actually thought I was older. It took 1.5 years for them to realize I wasn't 19. And they opened the world for me. Rohit Khosla passed away. Yeah. There's so much happened in those years. And I was a lucky boy who was protected by a bunch of these men and women who were either gay or wanted people who were gay to have expression in life and access and comfort. They made this kid grow up with confidence.
So Rohit even invested in your restaurant,
Veda.
Right?
I brought him in as a partner with my partner from New York, and Gudda designed this space. And so he's been my anchor for life.
Tell me about your life in New York.
I arrived at 20 to be a designer. Food became the comfort that... Food was the access to the who's who of the country, because they would show up and somebody said that kid cooks the best food. So I would show Hollywood celebrities, world celebrities coming to my student kitchen, eating till late at night. I would work full time. I would cook full time. I would party full time and somehow managed to survive. Lots of my parents, my brothers, my sister helped me. Artists' lives are struggles. They were there behind me, lifting me up as I'm falling, lifting me up as I'm going bankrupt. They were always there for me.
What were you cooking?
I was cooking ghar ka khana, zimikand ke kofte, bharwa karele, gatte ki sabzi, Manchurian cauliflower, the taste of India. Plus, I would travel a lot. So all the foods I'd eaten in my journeys across the world.
All vegetarian?
I was vegetarian till 35.
So you were cooking also vegetarian?
I was cooking meat as well. My bhua, who was the wife of the DGBSF of India, would cook meat and without tasting it. And people would talk wax poetic about non-veg cooking. So I learned from bhua, kaise she said, khushbu se, aankhon se, tajurbe se seekh jaoge. So Gail Green, the food critic of New York Magazine for 40 plus years, when she reviewed my restaurant, Devi wrote, Saran is the only vegetarian whose meat I eat, tongue in cheek.
So you learned how to... I read about it when I do my research, that you cooked even steak. And that is, I think, the most difficult, meat. Right?
I grew up in a Radha Swami home. We had Radha Swami, no sharab, no meat. So I was very puritanical. I wouldn't eat in my bhua's home. That same amazing bhua who inspired me to sing, who made me learn how to write poetry. At her home, I would make excuses for not eating food because I was grossed out by seeing a kitchen where meat was being cooked. That boy came to America, and first time he cooked chicken. And I'm like, I told my roommate who was blind, wash it for me, legally blind, so he could see a little. So how did I know years later I would be legally blind? So that kid, Jake, would cook and I would eat. His parents chose me as the roommate. We had the best apartment with the terrace in Central Park West in 86th Street. They charged me $700 for that room, but I was the luckiest kid. We had the most gorgeous apartment with the greatest views of Manhattan. And this kid who was legally blind, the parents looked at this Indian roommate in his school. They said, isko le lo, ye babysitting karega. Wohi hua.
वो kindness. I've seen many people who say that कि वो kind होंगे.
तो ले लिया. हर रात को तमाशा होता था कि लोग who's who आते थे. I had the best views. And I would cook. He would help me wash these meaty things that I'd never touched. And I would make food and people would cry. Some would say, oh, till the day I die, I want a bowl full of your magical rajma, chicken curry. And everything. I didn't know I could cook all of this
So
crap.
they didn't want you to make the usual, the butter chicken and the
They were
kali dal.
shocked that ghar ki dal, chawal, sabzi, chicken curries are so light and beautiful and seasonally inspired, regionally interesting, that these buzzwords were not even in the market at that time, but they were tasting it at the table. When my book came out, Indian Home Cooking, the editor-in-chief of Cooking Light, the magazine that pushed healthy cooking, they featured it and they said, Chef, did you really go out, set about writing a healthy cookbook? I said, no, this is everyday home cooking of India, which is sensible, practical, reasonable, and inspired all at once. Because we are a nation of poverty, coming of age, and we were smart. It's like Italian cucina